That's all it's just.
And number one. They wander around navigating Keeneland and helping fans with wagering and understanding horse racing. We do have some people here today that said they go to Keeneland, but they don't know how to read the. Yeah, so they met over 4 decades ago working at a thoroughbred farm. So they're horse people to start with, okay? And then he's been a handicapper since he was 12, and I'm sure you can talk a little bit about that. Became a betologist before he did in the spring of 2014, and then you joined her the next year.
We used to work as veterinarians with middle of that, so yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this they kept
We, yes, we've worked in the thoroughbred business of all of our working with. I'm originally from Indiana. My dad said I had to go to college. I said, all I want to do is work with horses, so I came down here. But I went, I graduated from Pennsylvania with a degree in biology in 1978, and then went to work with the thoroughbreds because I grew up riding different horses, American saddlebreds, Morgans, Arabians, quarter horses. But we didn't have any racing thoroughbreds around where I grew up. So that was totally different for me. And I'd never worked with mares and foals. So I went to work on a breeding farm and he was my boss on the section. He almost knows nothing except racehorses. Right, with Nick, there's thoroughbreds and there's ponies. Anything that's not a racehorse is a pony.
So like, yeah, the old Domino's style, Russell Kane.
Yeah.
Mr. Terry owned it, and he's the one who built the Marriott in on Newtown Pike. Yeah, uncut
Majority control, yeah. So, yeah, so we worked there, then I worked a winter. They didn't want to work another winter outside, that was 1978, and it was really bad, and they said, oh, I love horses, but I don't want to work another winter outside, so I went to work at the old Pedigree Associates, because he thought I should learn about pedigrees. So I did. I learned about pedigrees and how to read a pedigree page and all of that sort of thing. And then for 4 years, I was the barn manager at what was called Texelview, the rehab swimming pool for horses.
Right across from the camp.
Yeah, it's Tesmark now. And so I was the barn manager there and was in charge of overseeing the care of usually between 35 to 50 horses on a daily basis, make sure that they looked as good or better when they left our facility than when they came. And Nick, we lived in Australia for 3 years on a thoroughbred farm because he wanted me to live down there and not just visit. He's from Australia originally, and so I foaled mares down there, so I learned how to do that. Basically, be a midwife while they're giving birth.
And everything's outside of Australia too.
Yeah. You're there to
Bowling
assist
pet,
them and
bowling school.
and that's it. And I love folding mares, although it's a little hard work now that I'm 70. But yeah, to be there when they take their first breath and they have this little high pitch. And then their mother answers them with a real low, nicker to them, and it's really a special moment when they first are born. But Nick actually knows what it's like to ride one of these things.
Yeah, I used to ride races in Chile.
I don't like to go. I like to go around and just pictures.
Yeah, you talk to jockeys and jockeys who never had a race ride or riding for the first time, and they say, oh, that race went so quick. It does go quick. You're on there.
You can go 35 to 40 miles an hour.
I'll let you know that, I've rode a number of horses and, you know what you got underneath you halfway through the race. So if you bet the number 5, and I can tell you at halfway point, we ain't gonna win that. But when you got that horse under you and you haven't even let it go yet, it's like driving that Ferrari, that's okay, put the pedal down, there you go.
Yeah.
And then you got the other horse, let's go, honey. No, not today.
Yeah.
So it's still a horse race, and when you got horses and stuff, and I'll tell you, I tell everyone at Keeneland, this is my opinion, but in the long run, it's just a horse race. And
Anything can happen.
anything can happen, and they have an off day and they look good, have an off day, and as they say, if you look into past, he throw that race out, goes back to 2 races back, because he won that race 2 back. Last race, he just never turned up. So you throw that race out like it never happened.
A lot of stuff happens right at the start.
Yeah.
A lot of theoretically, they're supposed to jump straight, but when you look at the head-on of the start of a race, you'll see some horses jump to the side, and if a horse gets body slammed and basically knocks the wind out of them, they're 1,000-pound animals. If they get knocked off stride at any point in the race for any reason, it's hard to get that momentum going again.
And I'll just say, forget it.
Yeah, some of the jockeys won't persist. They'll just,
Well, the horse wants to 15.
yeah.
Oh,
The horses, they get knocked around like that, kind of makes them mad and makes them, they either want to get out of there or they just want to show everybody that didn't bother me one bit, to go on with it. So,
So you want to do an interview?
yeah, I wrote up this little thing. It just gives a little insight into horse psychology at the beginning. Then I give a little history of the breed, of the thoroughbred breed. There are other racing breeds of horses, but at Keeneland, we only deal with thoroughbreds. Standard bred horses are the ones that pull a sulky, and they're either trotters or pacers.
Like Red Mile.
Yeah, like at the Red Mile. They also race quarter horses. And quarter horse race, they get their name because for a quarter of a mile, they're faster than a thoroughbred. They are the supreme sprinters, but they can't carry that speed over distance. So the hallmark of the thoroughbred is not only are they fast, but they can carry their speed over distance. That's what the breed was developed to do.
And one thing, it's in there, but every registered thoroughbred can be traced in genetic to 3 Arabian stallions. So every thoroughbred that brings goes back to the Dali, the Godolphin, Arabian, and the Bible Church. So those 3 horses, every thoroughbred goes back to those 3 horses. And if they don't go back to those 3 horses, they're not a thoroughbred. So yeah.
The English developed this breed to be a sporting breed. This breed comes with bragging rights. Back then, they had their big draft horses for their agricultural work, and they had the carriage horses for transportation and to pull heavy loads. They wanted a horse that they could say, my horse is faster than your horse. So yeah, well, my horse can run further faster than your horse. And so that's how this whole thing started.
And a bigger horse too.
Yeah, so they crossed those Arabians, Arabian stallions that they brought from the Middle East with their native English mares to create this breed to be a sporting animal. So we don't have to teach that they're born knowing how to run, but there are certain things they have to learn on the racetrack before they can race. They have to learn, funny as it sounds, to run in a straight line. Horses in a field go all over everywhere. In a race, they'll get disqualified if they take the path of another horse. So if you go watch the morning workouts, you'll see them working young horses in configurations of 3, 4, maybe 2 in front, 2 behind. This is just, they have to learn to run with horses on either side of them, in front of them, behind them. The most difficult thing they have to learn is the starting gait. I'll let Nick talk about that.
Well, you say they're a herd animal, so they're not being enclosed.
Yeah.
Some horses, now, every horse has to have a starting gate card to get into a race. That's just like a driver's license. So they have to be at Keeneland for at least 3 to 4 weeks. It was, I think 2 weeks, but it will say 3 to 4 weeks. And they have to be stable, then have to go back to that starting gate and go in and out that starting gate, stop there, gallop out and walk on through, etc. Now,
In front of the starting gate.
most of those horses in their early stages, if they go to Florida, you get broken in after the shoulder healing. Those training, establishments do have starting gaps, so they get used to it from day one. But if it's, we have a lot of farms down here who have two or three thoroughbreds, they race that thoroughbred, or they've never seen a starting gate before, so that's why they have to go to school. And once they pass that test, you get the starting gate card and you can enter into a race there. And now there's a computer system, so all racing jurisdictions all over the country will look that up and make sure he's got his starting gate card. He doesn't have to go to Florida to get another one, just have to go to California and get another one. So if it's one card, that's it. So when you see these horses not wanting to go in the gate, they know what to do, they just been ornery.
There's no way on a regular morning at the racetrack, these horses are used to the routine, but there's no way to simulate noise of the crowd and the intensity. And horses are very sensitive animals. They pick up everything from their handlers. If you're scared of a horse, it'll know it, and a lot of them will try and take advantage of that.
Yeah, you know, just look to the Kentucky Derby. No horse has been in front of crowd like that before.
Yeah.
So you have to school them in that paddock before the Kentucky Derby, that you'll see them up in that paddock, schooling with everyone around them just to get used to things.
Yeah.
And you know, before we get into betting, basically, I always look at horses in the paddock because if they're starting to sweat up a lot, that means nervous energy,
Yeah.
no difference.
We've
Because
only got
running the
good
race
now.
before the race is even run.
If they're
And then next time out, I know there's some good handicappers, maybe Wilkendale out in Nara, New York. She'll make notes of this and say, oh, last time this horse ran, it was like this. Today, it's been a perfect gentleman. And you'll see that difference when they run, because they concentrated now. Before, what the hell going on?
yeah, they learn a lot with every race.
Yeah.
Very few horses win their first race. Even American Pharoah did not win his first race. He came fourth, but he barely lost after that. And I love to bet second time starters for that reason. Because a lot of times they don't, you know, they're kind of like
Slow out of the gate.
kids'
Yeah.
first day at school, but yeah. But the second time, they know what's going on, and even third and fourth time, and to look in the past performances, you can see if the horse is improving. And like I like to see improvement every race. And we'll talk about the speed figure numbers and things like that. So there's ways to kind of pick that up by learning to read all this. That being said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with picking colors. On Sundays, I like to bet horses who have a church or spiritual connotation that works well for me. On some Sundays when we're watching races and I'm betting, we both do have online wagering accounts. That's actually the best thing we ever did for our marriage when after he told me was to get separate wagering accounts.
Why did you bet that?
I know, because I like to try and bet, you know, win more money and not spend very much with the long shot. And
Yeah, but you'll also get more horses in the same race.
no. Or I just can't make a decision. Well, no lever. Four out of five horses.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. Some races are just not good betting races. Now, when people come to Keeneland and that's their only day that they're gonna, you know, do it, they want to bet every race. But there's a lot of times races we do not bet because all the horses are short prices, there's no value in it. You've still got all the risk, but you're not gonna get much reward.
So you
So,
don't want to bet $6 and get $7 back, when you're looking at.
yeah,
Let's
and
go.
it's possible to even lose money, to still win a wager and lose money, and we'll explain that in a little while.
Well, yeah, one thing I had, one guy, we do the exacta box where you have to pick the first two horses in a race, and he put a third horse in there, which I always do. But he spent $60 on that exacta box. He had a $10 going with 3 horses, $60. Well, the thing is, there was 2 favorites in there. One was even money, one was 7-5. He got $30 back. Then he couldn't figure out why he lost. Well, that was the reason, because
Two short
Yeah.
price favorites chance.
if the third horse was 20-1, I think, I mean, he would have won money. But, to try and tell people that, when I see 2 short price favorites in a race, look, just watch the race and enjoy it. But if you want to have your $2, that's fine. Well, as I say, before we get into that, and betologists, if people come to the races, first time starters, I always say they are, any horse for $2 to win, or $2 to show, just to have an interest in that race, so you can root that horse along throughout the race. And so and I always say, say bring $50 to the track. You go to a movie theater these days, you're gonna spend $50 and get nothing back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and so that always resonates, but that way you have an interest in these trades. If you come out and you've lost everything, it's a fun day.
You had a fun day.
Then they had a fun day at the races, and then they had that $2 across and comes back $3. Hey, we cashed the ticket, and that's, that's, yeah. So just have an interest, and, but no, we're not trying to,
Yeah, we do this as a hobby. We've been married, since 1981. It's getting to be higher math for me. But you run out of things to talk about. So we always have, who do you like in the next piece? So we always have something to talk about.
but I watch 50 races during the week, and I'll probably say 5 races. I love horse racing. Betting is just another thing, but I love horse racing and watching the racing, especially when they get really close, head to head down the stretch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I watch it, because I just enjoy horse racing.
And we've got
And the personalities that go with it,
and the backstories.
and the backstory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the athleticism.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The horses.
And the horses and the jockeys, these jockeys are so strong. Those horses are so strong. Riding a racehorse is totally different from riding any other type of horse.
Well, I want to turn your arm down, that's I used to ride track work at Cleveland, and, yeah, I got on some bad horses, but nothing is, they just pull your arms around. Wasn't fun.
Let's just mention for the people at home that they do have the handouts in chat. So if they want to
Okay,
download them, they're in chat.
yeah,
So
talk about the claim
Yeah.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there are different levels of races in this sport. The whole point of the sport is to find a level at which a horse can be competitive. Not all of them are American Pharaohs, Secretariats, Justified, but they can be successful at a different level and maybe at a lesser racetrack. Keeneland's one of the top 5 racetracks in the country, probably, and because our purse structure is so high, whenever you put out a big pot of money, guess what? You're gonna get the best trainers, bringing their best horses, the best jockeys are riding those good horses for those good trainers. So, it's quite a big deal for a horse to win at Keeneland. But just because they don't win at Keeneland doesn't mean that they're not a good racehorse and that they can't be competitive at other tracks, other states, other tracks. Lesser tracks in Keeneland. So always keep that in mind. Keeneland has a lot of 2-year-old races. We have the first races for young horses in the entire country at our April meet. And these are really tricky races. None of these horses have ever raced before.
So,
So
who do you
it's
bet on?
kind of a toss-up.
No, who do you bet on? Wesley Ward.
Well, Wesley Ward he's recognized in the sport as being the top trainer with young horses.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we had 12 two-year-old races, he won 10 of them.
Yeah.
So he's on the training track in January, down on the training track in Keeneland, putting those horses in the gate, out of the gate, so that you know that horse as a two-year-old is gonna jump. Meaning, and that's the key with the two-year-old. When I watch a two-year-old race, if I've got a horse, let's have it jump out.
Yeah.
You know, instead of working up in the air. But Wesley Ward and Steve Asmussen, the other trainer, we can pretty much guarantee those horses will get out of the gate. That's how they train them.
And they're short. They're only 4.5. So, yeah. Brings us to another thing. Horse racing is measured in furlongs. I've got that at the bottom of the page here. The furlong is 1/8 of a mile or 220 yards. Base racehorse time that they're looking for with this breed is 12 seconds per furlong. If they can't achieve that base time of 12 seconds a furlong, which is then a quarter of a mile in 24 seconds, or a half mile in 48 seconds, they're not going to be winning at Keeneland. Like I said, they could be successful at lesser tracks.
Yeah, no, but I had our friend Ed, he had a horse. He worked him like 4 or 5 different times. All he could do was 4 and 52. That should be doing for. He retired that horse before he even raced.
Yeah.
Because he was not going to race. And he gave it away to a young lady and made it into an event. So there is, you know, that's what happened. But he said, look, this horse has got no ability, you know.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
a young person that's 6'5", but they're not interested in basketball.
Right.
You know, just because they've got the physical attributes doesn't mean they're gonna have the talent. And with these horses especially, that competitive nature is bred into them or not. And the trainers really never know what they've got. They can start to see some of the competitive nature, but when the people buy these horses as yearlings, they've got no idea whether they got the competitive gene or not. And
We had 57 horses sell for $1 million or more at Keeneland this past September. If 10 of them come out and win races,
the old breeding adage is breed the best to the best and hope for the best. You breed 2 horses that have been superior on the proving ground of the racetrack. Hope their offspring will get that competitive nature.
yeah,
But because they're herd animals, which I talked about at the beginning, it's not natural to them to want to leave the herd. It goes against their survival instinct. But with over 400 years of breeding, we bred a little of that out of them. So they do want, the good ones do want to go to the front, and they don't have any trouble leaving their buddies behind. But at the lower levels of racing, that's where you'll find the horses that have ability, lack that competitive nature. They'll get to the front, and then they don't want to go on because they don't want to leave their buddies. And you'll see that in the racing form. It'll say the horse hung. That's a really bad word to see because the trainers, you cannot train that out of them. You can't train the competitive nature into them. And if they don't have it, they just don't have it. So,
I'll keep coming second.
yeah, we'll
And
get a
you
lot
like-
of seconds.
You'll
Third.
Horse goes right after that lead and all those.
Doesn't want to go past or,
On the other horse is very competitive and you won't let that horse go.
yeah, yes, and the best finishes are, you'll get 2 competitive horses and they're ding-donging. They separate from the rest of them and they ding-dong. And their ears, if their ears are pinned flat back, that means they're absolutely giving 100% physically of what they can do. So to see them ding-donging with their little ears pinned back, they're just working somewhere. So yeah, we've got the different levels. The highest level of racing is the stakes races. We've got the allowance division, which is a bit below the stakes race. The maiden division is for horses who have never won a race before. Some horses never win a race. So as long as they don't win, they can keep going in that maiden division.
Yeah, but there's a horse the other day, 18 starts, no win. Next start, he won.
And then, so
So never give up.
we were watching a race one day, and one of those horses won. This horse, he'd raced so many times, and he had a fit when they tried to take him into the winner's circle. Because he was used to going back to the power. They kept choking off, leaving, he got his job, oh my God, he won that day. And he did not want to have his picture taken. I thought that was so funny. Yeah, the claiming division is the lowest, generally considered the lowest level for these horses. The horses are for sale that day. There are for that claiming price. There are some horses that some trainers that only deal in the claiming division. And they make money by claiming a horse for a certain price. Every trainer thinks it can improve any horse that they see. If I had that horse, I'd be doing this or that, something different with it. So they buy that horse in a claiming race.
Well, let's say,
They do their little tweak and they put it into another claiming race, maybe for $10,000 or $20,000 more than what they paid for it. And if that horse wins, then okay, they lose the horse, but they get the money.
and the prize money.
They get the prize money for
So let's say,
winning.
let me
Yeah.
talk.
Okay.
Training race, okay, it could be for $10,000, could be $100,000.
Yeah.
Normal training races are equivalent of 10, 20, 30, 40, and $50,000. So I'm trying to look at that horse, 50,000, now it's dropping to a $30,000 claim. That's lower level. Okay, still a training race, but it's lower level. It's a lesser of competition. And so when they're dropping like that, my friend, we had a horse last year. It was actually a very expensive horse, nearly $1 horse. And after 2 starts, it showed no ability. Well, the owners, the big time owners, they just put it into a $20,000 claiming rate just to say bye, let someone else have it. And it did get claimed for. He probably took it to Indianapolis or to some other track and won races with the horse. They did actually do it. He won 2 more races, but at that level, it just wasn't competing, and they needed to get it off the books. But yeah, the handicap races, I look at see what sort of claim it was in there. 50,000. Now it's dropping to 20. That's a pretty big drop, and it's just the horses they're racing against are not as quick. Okay, still a claiming race, but they're dropping in class, or they go from 20 up to 50. He's into another level there. And all of a sudden, he won his last 2 at the 20,000, but he jumps to the 50,000 level. He's not winning. Those horses are a little bit too quick for it.
Yeah. A well-known, you may remember a horse named John Henry. He became a very famous racehorse, but he was a very vicious horse, and he was in claiming races and he wasn't he couldn't get focused, so this person gelded him, castrated him. Then he quit trying to beat up his handlers and beat up other horses all the time. When he didn't have all that testosterone, then he got his mind focused on racing, and then he won millions of dollars as a racehorse. But people say, it's too bad they gelded him. He would never have been the racehorse he was if they hadn't gelded him. He was his own worst enemy. Yeah, it was all testosterone forcing.
You see some well-bred horses, and they're just not running. You don't want to geld them because they pay, $1 for that horse, but to make a racehorse, they're going to have to be different. He's not concentrating.
Yeah, happens with the boys. And if they start putting their handlers in the hospital, they have to deal with. Some of these horses can become very difficult to deal with.
But they say there's different levels of claiming, so when you're looking at them, you have to see,
Yeah,
well, we'll get into that, but you have to
Yeah.
see at the top, what sort of claiming rate he was in last time, is he dropping down or going up? There's a well-known owner in, Oklahoma, she plays, I say, the claiming game, where she'll claim a horse for 30 and put it up 40 or 50 and try and win a race then, if not, let's go back down, but she's probably got, I know, Tom Amos trained.
yeah, Maggie Moss.
40,
Maggie
45
Moss.
or 50 horses in training and all claiming horses. But she's making money because if your horse does get claimed, you get the first money plus the claiming.
You know, you lose the horse, but you get.
But you make, but you,
Yeah.
You
And
get
then
that
some
money.
people just need the money. There was a story a few years ago where, a guy had a really nice racehorse that he liked. But guess what? His daughter wanted a really expensive wedding. So he put his horse in a $100,000 claiming race. The horse got claimed. He got his $100,000 to pay for his daughter's wedding. And then a few months later, when the horse went into another claiming race, he got the horse. Yeah, so some people just do that. You never know why they're into the claim, but it's not always because they're.
Yeah, and sometimes, you've got your fillies and mares in the claim and they're well bred. And a lot of people who's in the categories, which I am, buy a certain horse out of a mare and you put her through the sale, she might get 50,000, or sometimes she's in a $20,000 claiming rate. Well, she'll get claimed just to go to the breeding shed. She won't never race it.
Just because of her bloodline.
Just because of the bloodline. So I always look at that to see, did that horse get claimed? No one's buying a horse that probably stands for $100,000 and it's in the $20,000 claiming race. Why?
A
Well,
lot of genetics to the.
yeah, I know too. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you wanna
Yeah.
start looking at stuff of sort of the people say in biology, oh, what's the first thing that you look at? The first thing I look at is right up at the top here. It tells me what type of race it is, what level of race is it, if it's a stakes race. This one is the Woodford presented by TVG. It's a grade 2 stakes race. So the stakes division is the highest level of racing.
You have
And this is
great,
a graded stakes race worth $200,000. That tells me we're dealing with athletic, talented horses and they're competitive. Because the stakes, I've got a golf analogy. The stakes division are like the PGA players. The allowance division is like the
.com.
golf, your .com and your resort pros. You know,
And the claiming race is you and I playing golf. We have one good day, we have a bad.
yeah,
That's what the claiming horses are, but those state races, they perform at a high level and consistently at that high level. And before you go on,
Yeah.
the grade 1 Kentucky Derby, they're the highest level. Now, we had a filly this year, we're in a partnership,
BBN racing, yep.
and our filly Finland won a grade 1 race. She was worth 500,000, now she's worth $2 million. Because she won that grade 1 race. And then you'll see races too, where it's a grade 1, you'll have 6 horses in it. Why are these 2 horses in here? Because you never know. It could be come third, could be grade 1 place.
Yeah,
And that's a huge
that's what
deal.
I talked about that black type
Yeah,
here.
you go to the breeding
They
shed.
want that
Well, they
black
see
type.
that, I heard about the 4-horse race, they just will see grade 1 place.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see, so who do you wanna look at?
Well, some people might have heard of Golden Pal, so I thought we'd go with that. He stands at Ashford now. This race was 2021, and he was,
And it's
voted.
up here, the distance, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. So that tells us the turf sprint.
Yeah, because this race now is worth 750,000 and not 200.
Yeah.
What he's got, eh?
You'll see, so let's look at number 2, post position 2. The
This,
post positions are drawn a few days before the race, random.
right.
No, Jason Secretary topic. So,
One, just one thing, Big Ben from Australia, we're the only country that actually, the 1 is in the 1 gate, 2 is in the 2 gate. overseas, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, they draw the horses by weight. So the top weight is the one horse, the next one is two, three, four, and then they do the gate. So the one horse in Australia is not in gate number one. So we're the only one that does that. So if you ever look at overseas, you have to look in little fine print what gate it's in, because the one is not in the one gate. But
Yeah.
Australia, America makes it easy. From the one.
So you've got things, the same sort of thing written in two different ways here, because you've got these boxes over on the right-hand side. That's kind of a quick overview. Golden Pal, he had 6 life, you see where it says life, 6, 3, 2, 0, and how much money. So that means in his lifetime, he has 6 starts.
So
The 3 is the win column, then you have coming second and then coming third. So out of 6 lifetime starts, he had 3 wins, 2 seconds, 0 third. And he won 659,000. Yeah. And then it breaks it down into, this race was run in October of 2021. The current year, I like to look at that. It tells me if the horse had, if it's, how well is it having a good year? He had 2 starts that year, 1 win. He only won $66,000, but and you can see then they did the previous year in 2020, he had 4 starts, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and he won most of his money then in 2020. So then it breaks it down if they've ever raced on the Keeneland Turf Track. He's had 1 start and he won there.
And I look at that a lot. That's one thing I look at. I want to see if they've run at Keeneland before, because horses can win at Keeneland. They'll have 6 more starts somewhere else. No good. They come back to Keeneland in October. And also they win another race. They just love that racetrack. So
Horses for course.
horses, so that's something I always look at. It'll say the same thing. Keeneland Turf or Keeneland Dirt.
And then has he ever run the distance that he's being asked to run today? 5.5 furlongs? Yes, 3 times. He's 3 for 3. That's another big.
Another big club.
Yeah. Then it breaks it down into dirt, wet dirt, synthetic surface, turf, wet turf. So if you go to Keeneland on a nice sunny day, you don't have to worry about the wet turf, or if the track is good.
But if it's been rain overnight, I want to see horses that have handled that turf, because it's given the ground then. Instead of running on top of the ground, there's some give. And some horses just do not do it. The one that lasts 3 easily, and you think, oh, it's great. All of a sudden it gets into that turf and it's a little bit soft for him. It just doesn't run. Once again, throw that race out, because it was a soft turf and he does not like that.
Yeah. Then you see the owners here, what their silks, what color their silks are. And then trainer, oh yeah, there's that guy, Wesley Ward, that we talked about. And then it gives his percentage just at the Keeneland meet.
Yeah, if you see that, it's not the whole year.
Yeah.
Just the kid. That's why at the moment it's 0%, because that meet just started. So just that if you ever go to Keeneland, you don't. It's the Keeneland meet only. It's not you go for all.
Then you've got his registered name, Golden Pal. The little horse means that he was sold at Keeneland and went through one of our sales. And underneath, if you look across, he's carrying 118 pounds, including jockey Johnny Velasquez. And then underneath his name, where it says BC3, that gives his color. He's a bay. The C means he's a colt. Colt is an intact male horse under the age of 4 years old. So, he's a colt. If he's a gelding, it'll say G there. Like Johnny Unleashed up top, up above him. DKBBG.
Dark Bay of Brown
Gelding. Then it gives their age, 4 years old. Golden Powell was 3 years old. His sire was Uncle Mo. His mother was Lady Shipman, and her sire was Midshipman. So it always gives the female side of the family, the sire line of the female side. In that
Not so much for you guys, but when I look at that too, well, running on the turf, and sometimes the first time you buy a nice sire, but then I look at the sire's mother. Oh, and that horse was bred on the turf, so that means there's turf pedigree there. And so, okay, it's running on the turf for the first time, but on pedigree, mum was really good on the turf, so that should go to that.
sire line. And then bred in Florida by these people. And then his chronological birthday was February 23rd of 2018. So that right under his name gives you all the personal information on each horse, on Golden Powell, their color, their age, and their bloodlines. Then we see that he has had 6 lifetime races. We have all 6 of his races here. So if we go all the way down to the bottom of this column, we can read it upside down.
Some things may.
He had his very first start on the 17th of April in 2020. He was 2 GP, means he was in the 2nd race at Gulfstream Park.
But that's always the initial of the Tranquila, because KDU,
Yeah,
Saratoga, SAR, that sort of thing.
yeah, Belmont, BEL.
Yeah, no.
Then going across, it says FT means it was a fast track that day. That's the track condition.
And that, without anything beside it, that means he was on the dirt. Now, you look above, you see T, the other one, that means he's on the turf, but if there's nothing beside a horse's name, that means he's on the dirt.
The distance that day was one of those 2-year-old races. He was born in 18, so he had his first start in 2020 as a 2-year-old. 4.5 furlongs gives the distance. Then it gives the time, not of, well, he did win that. No, he was second. It gives the time of the winner of that race. So it lets you know how fast the fractions were at each point of call. So we talked about that 24 seconds for the first quarter mile. This race was run in 21. That's smoking. Yeah. And then if you look over, it says MSW 65,000. That's the type of race. So that's one of those maiden races, maiden special weight, MSW. I say in my little blurb here, the maiden special weight division, it's a little higher class of maiden for those horses that have never run before, or never won before. And then the 2 numbers, he ran for $65,000, that race was worth. Then you look over where it says 86-81. Those are what we call the speed figures. Yeah, the first one is pace. That's only the first 2 furlongs of the race. It lets higher to 100, the better. It lets you know how fast the horse got out of the gate. Then 81 was his overall speed figure. Closer to 100, the better.
And that's what I go by. If I ever look at things, I want to see what that speed figure is. Because that's an Andy Byer, there's an Equibase speed figure, but there's Andy Byer. He's that, and that's what's called the Byer speed figure, because Andy Byer is speed
He came up with the algorithm,
algorithm.
and he owns all the.
Still to this day. And so if I look at a race, I want to see, and I want to see too, if the horse has had 2 starts, the first time he had an 83 speed figure, next start, another 83. Don't bet the horse the next time, because he did not improve on that second race. It should have gone from 83 to say an 89.
Yeah.
And that would have been good. But I had 2 instances last year where horses had 2 starts and he produced the same speed figure for both races. And he was the favorite, but both those horses didn't win because they just didn't improve that second time out. They should have improved.
for the dark, bold one, if you just look up that column and you can see Golden Powell improved his speed figure in the subsequent races. He went from 81 to 98 to 105 to 95. Okay. And then I look over and I see, oh, the track wasn't fast that day. It was a little soft.
Yeah.
So he didn't like the soft. So he didn't. Well, he still won, but he wasn't as fast. Yeah. And then they took him over to England to Royal Ascot or York, okay. And so if you look at horse number 3, this horse raced in Europe, so that's why that box looks different from everybody else's. Because they don't have all the same information that
So he's run 3 times, England, Colonial Downs, but before that, he was running overseas, and that's why there's blank right there. So you're seeing blank, and you'll see a lot of people coming in England from Europe to run. And if they're coming over here to run in England, you can pretty much bet on them because they didn't come all the way over here.
Yeah. So talk about $30,000.
Yeah.
Probably gonna go up, but yes, the fuel prices are going up. It's gonna cost even more to bring them over here.
But they're not running for $1 million in England and Ireland, so they got a really nice source. They'll bring them over here and run them in the Maker's Mark Mile for $1 million.
What's the top end of purses in Europe?
The Epsom Derby, which is a huge race, that is a $2 million race, but it's terrible. It's like $12,000, 15 for the general racing general. Now, the other races, they'll run for 200,000, but that's about it. So the prize money is shocking. I don't know why Sheikh Mohammed stays over. You know, the regular races, I mean, that's $15,000.
Continuing on looking at Golden Powell, all the numbers in the middle is where he was at every point of call in the race. So he jumped out he was horse.
He posted this in 7th, and he was 4th, and then he was
And then he went to the lead.
by 2.
I don't know why. I guess that's
Because it's 4.5 furlong, that's why.
yeah, okay.
They don't.
And then that one HD means he was first by a head, and then he got bumped. He finished second, 3/4 of a length behind the winner. That's what 2 3/4 means. So that column where it's 2 3/4, that's the finish column.
Second by a neck, first by 3, third by 3/4, it just tells you how much that. And then Julie go on, but you'll see those asterisks by the prices, 20 cents each. If you ever see an asterisk, that means it was a favorite in that race. It could be $3, but it's still, if it has an asterisk like that, no, it's a favorite in that race. It was a favorite in that race.
Setting, yeah.
And you'll see that.
And then over here where it has, it's a Gatsby, 118 3/4. The horse that beat Golden Powell was named Gatsby. He was carrying 118 pounds and he won by 3/4 of a length. Then Golden Powell carried 118. He was second by 3 lengths. And then Just Right Mike was also carrying 118. He was third.
Okay,
2 lengths.
You see Just Right Mike, that is in italics. That means that horse came out and won its next race.
The next, yeah.
So that's always a good in past performances. When I say, okay, that horse was second, wow, and in italics, that means it won its next race. So that franks the form, because sometimes the horse will win and those other 2 behind it, they finish nowhere in the next few races. But if you see the italics, that means that horse won its next race. So that's good form.
Then continuing on that, to finish up that line, it tells if the horse had any trouble so he was bumped at the start, stubbornly means he held on, but he was bumped significant with the
And that's
start.
something I
There were
look
8
at.
horses in the race.
Yeah, and I look at that every time. I want to see what those running lines were. If he came fourth and he was bumped, crowded, they can only do that little, little blurb like that. But I want to see if he just had a clean run and he came to nothing happened. And sometimes they get bumped, then not me, but some of the bigger handicappers, they'll go to television and they'll watch that replay to see, did he
Yeah.
really get bumped? And sometimes you
Yeah.
watch the replay. Or slam.
Yeah, we're not really.
So there's a lot of, well, with technology now, you can watch these bigger handicappers, they watch every race and
Replay.
two race replays and see what happened in that race and see what happened because this has to come out 30 minutes after the race. So these guys are writing stuff down and they'll miss stuff and all they'll,
Yeah. So when I'm looking, it takes practice to, just to, but the thing I found out when Nick, and I was lucky because I asked him questions all day long when I first, started this. What does this mean? What does this mean? But what I quickly found out was all the information on each horse is in the same place. So you kind of start asking yourself questions. The two biggest things I want to know is has the horse, what level of racing has he been racing at? When did he last run? Has he been off for 6 months? Did he race 2 weeks ago? You can tell that by looking at the most recent race compared to what the date is. And where has he been, what racetracks has he been racing at? Has he ever raced at Keeneland before and at the distance? I can see all that from that little box.
Let's just go to one thing.
Question on the graded races like this, I noticed that the weights that they're carrying varies. What determines that weight that these horses, because you got the couple that are carrying one.
Yeah, so
We gotta read the conditions up here.
Wait, 3-year-old, 122 pounds, or 124 pounds.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's so many
That
little
goes in.
things there that make the weight a little different.
Yeah.
Just go to Johnny Unleashed, I just want to point something out. Those past performances, if we go down halfway, you'll see AOC 40,000 allowance. And you can see at the AOC level, he won by 3.
One by a nose, yeah.
Then he won by again at the AOC level, and then he went to the states. Now he didn't win in those states, so here he is winning those allowance races. But when he crept up to that higher level, he just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He was beating 4, 6, 4, 10. He ran well, but he couldn't win. But at that allowance level, he was winning races. But as an owner, you want to keep him up there if you can. And then,
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got nothing to lose by trying a little more competition. And,
actually, he won number of races after the 2-5. He's a pretty nice one.
yeah, when you look down his speed figures, his highest speed figure was 101. And that wasn't anywhere near Golden Palace highest speed figure of 105. So,
Speed figures how quick that horse runs that race.
overall,
Yeah, overall. That's
It's
an overall.
an algorithm.
It's an algorithm. And that, I really go by those 2 things I mark straight away. Is those speed figures
yeah,
and look at the other horses in that race. This horse is running 85. Every other horse in the race is a 78, 79. On his day, he's not going to be. He'll win that race because those other horses are just not quick enough.
as Nick told me, some horses just aren't fast.
No matter how hard they try.
Yeah,
That's why you have to drop them. Because you're paying that trainer. You want to win races, but you want to win them at the high level, but you still got to pay your bills. So let's drop him when he's going to win a paycheck, so to speak. And especially, to win at Keeneland, that's a huge thrill for everyone that can just jewel cup and hold it. But yeah, and you've got so many people there, but you got to drop them where they belong. And, you want to have that really nice horse, but you got to put them level where they're going to compete.
yeah, be competitive. So horse number 5, Charcoal, and horse number 7, I can see they are both grays. So a lot of people, they love to bet gray horses, and they just want to know where they can find it. The first, so that's what that GR/RO, that means gray or roan. And that's where you find the color. Now, because coat color in all horses is genetically based, and because these horses have been so closely bred for 400 years, 80% of these horses are some shade of bay. Bay is the predominant color in the breed. And a bay horse is characterized by a black mane and tail and black lower legs from the knees and the hocks down. Their body color can be any shade of brown. If their body color is really dark brown, sometimes you can't see the definition of the black mane and tail and the black lower legs. But they don't have black in the registry. They do in some other breeds, but very rarely you will see a true black. But we call those dark bay or brown horses if their body color is really dark. Other horses, they can be like a bright sort of cherry color almost. That's my favorite color of bay. I call it a mahogany bay. And you can clearly see the definition of the black mane and tail and the black lower legs. They can have white markings on their face and their lower legs. In this breed of horse, white above the knee and on the belly is undesirable. We do have a lot more gray horses than we used to have because some sires, namely Tappet and a horse called Unbridled Song, they were grays. Unbridled Song, especially through their daughters, are passing that gray gene on.
And they're predominantly gray, so every Tappet was gray, pretty much. Not all the time, but
Yeah, well,
80%
yeah,
of the time.
some of it.
For 30 years ago, we didn't have that many
Yeah,
gray
yeah.
horses, but then when Tappet came along, now
Yeah,
we have.
and Unbridled Song, yeah.
Right.
Now we've got Liam's Map. He's a gray horse that stands at Lane's End. He throws a lot of grays.
So you see a lot more these days.
Yeah. But for some reason, I like to see which, now Oxbow, the sire of County Final, this horse got a double dose of gray. Oxbow, the stallion, is a gray, and so he's out of a Tappet mare. So he got a double dose of the gray
This one
mare.
too. Also with Chestnut,
Chestnut is the red all
Yeah,
over,
yeah,
like
but the-
Secretariat.
but the size Chestnut, the damn Chestnut, has to be a Chestnut. If it comes out of bay, wrong breed. Chestnut and a Chestnut, has to be a Chestnut.
Well, a gray horse has to have at least
Yeah,
one gray
that's right.
parent.
So if it's grey, you have to look at mum, dad, or the granddad. There has to be something in there, because otherwise,
Yeah, that gray gene would
that gray,
not belong.
yeah.
But you won't find any palominos in this breed. That's the yellow coloring with white mane and tail. That's not a genetic gene that's in this gene pool of the thoroughbred breed. No Appaloosa, none of that. Like a spotted pattern over their hips like that breed has. There are some people breeding for Pinto thoroughbreds, but usually when you go for color, you lose a lot of athleticism. And so we did see a Pinto thoroughbred at Keeneland a few years ago. It was quite a sight, but it's finished so far.
I just want to talk, extravagant kid, the number 6 horse. Just look at that, because he's an 8-year-old gelding, and his last 3 starts were overseas, and you can see where there's no time. That's how you know he raced overseas. So
It says
in Maidan,
England, yeah.
no, Maidan,
Yeah, Maidan,
which is
United Arab.
Emirates, and then he ran at Ascot, and then at Newmarket. But in that time, he had 6 starts for a win, 682,000. And then lifetime starts, if you add those things up, it's 38 starts for 50 out of 38 in the placings out of 52 starts. $1.6 million. What a nice horse, very consistent horse, you know, he They have 38 starts in the money and a 52 star. But our quals sprint grade one, there was 3 grade ones who went over there. And that was $1 million race, that sprint. So he would have got 600,000 just from that race alone. And then they went on to England William after that. But a bit of an old warrior, that's for sure.
So that one's identified as a dark bay brown?
Dark brown, yeah.
Yeah, dark bay or
And
brown.
if you look at him, you say brown. But in the registry, they do dark gray or brown.
Was there a breeder that was actually several years ago that was breeding white thoroughbreds?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
Hatchinals. In Japan, the country of Japan is, they love those white thoroughbreds. But if
They
a
have,
horse has to be genetically tested to determine that it's white and not an albino,
Right.
because they have to have dark skin. Albino would have pink skin.
I haven't seen one of those at Keeneland. I got a couple days,
There-
years ago, they said.
There was one that ran there a few years ago. Most of them come from sort of the same bloodlines.
But it was patching books, yeah.
Wasn't there an outfit in West Kentucky too that was also kind of had an enterprise going for a while, but I never heard much else about them.
Yeah, they could have been.
Okay.
Could have been. But once again, now the Japanese, they did have a graded stakes winner that was a white.
And he won, nice
Really,
race.
I think.
He really won.
Cool, dude. You
But
can,
Jackson got the love it, yeah, and he was, yeah, gentle.
you can, yeah, if you Google Japanese
Great.
white thoroughbreds, they would all come up. What other questions do you
Well,
have?
no, let me, I just want to talk about the jockeys. Jockeys, say it's $100,000 race, they only get 60% of the prize money. The jockey gets 10%, the trainer does too, but the jockey will get 10% of that.
The winner
So- Yeah, the winner gets 6%, he only gets 60%. The owner, yeah. So those jockeys, that's why we have the better jockeys coming up. Soon as Gulfstream finishes their winter meet, which will be, around about the 1st of April, the fairgrounds will finish up as well. Those jockeys then, that's in New Orleans, yeah. Oklahoma goes a bit longer. But those guys will come up, and they'll win 2 or 3 races, $20,000-$30,000. That's why they come up there. Now jockeys have agents, and that's how they get their ride. They're not the ones making the call. Like Louis Sayers, his agent is Kieran McLaughlin, who used to be a pretty good trainer. So he has Louis and he has someone else now as well. But he'll get 25% on what that jockey earns. So he's earning, 10% of that, $66,000, but then he's paying this much out to the agent. And the agent will say, you have these rides today, and he'll book those things. So the jockey is not actually talking to the owners or anyone else. He's talking to his agent, and the agent, it comes down to with the Derby coming up, say Louis on 2 horses that have won Derby preps. Also, who do we pick? Only up to the agent to be picking that horse. He'll have input from there, but it's a tough decision sometimes, especially with these 3-year-olds. They change so much between now and Derby time, and so that's where they get their rise. And so the agent does a lot of work, hustling trainers, and the trainers, they'll call the agent and not call the jockey. So
When these jockeys, young riders, are first starting out, though, most of them learn how to ride these horses by riding track work in the morning. And then if they physically are small enough, they have to keep their base weight at about 112 pounds.
Yeah.
If they want to ride all horses, because 2-year-olds carry less weight than other horses. So if they want to ride the 2-year-olds, they've got to keep their weight at about 112
yeah,
pounds.
because if you don't have a winner yet, you can claim 10 pounds. So the horse is getting 120. You take 10 pounds off that because you haven't won a race yet.
You're an
I think
apprentice
it's after
jockey.
10 races, they get to 7 pounds, then 5 pounds, but if you're a 10 pound bug boy, 7 feet, there's a lot of weight coming up that horse, when everyone else is carrying 120, you're carrying 110. It can make a difference, but there's no experience there, so, but you gotta get.
Trade-off, you know, that the
Right.
trainer has to decide. The trainer.
But I'm just looking at this year, the top 5 jockeys, Tyler Gaffleone, he's won $28 million. Irad Ortiz, $32 million this last year. Flavian Pratt, 37 million. Jose Ortiz, 26 million. So Irad and Jose, they're the brothers. I
Jose,
think I'm trying to hold it.
yeah,
Some of those guys are, hey, it's famous jockey, I'm gonna get my son to take me.
now they both came out of the same jockey school in Puerto Rico.
So when they come up here, they're an apprentice, but they're going through that Puerto Rican jockey school, and they,
Some of our top, Javier Castellano, I think
Yeah.
came through there.
Johnny B, I know not Johnny B. But when they come out of that school, they know how to ride. And not just picking up rides, so to speak, so.
Yeah. But they have to prove themselves in those early days, before they get an agent, they are hustling their own rides until, and hopefully they get a break, they get a good horse. And then they start to make a name for themselves, and then, you know, it builds on itself, just like any other, athlete, I guess.
But, you know, the jockey's getting that experience, but the jockey rides at Keeneland, I thought it was 150, I'll say one, but they're getting 125, not 150, a ride regardless of how they finish. So they can have 10 rides that afternoon and not ride a winner or second horse, they'll still get $1,250 because they rode in those races. So they do get a jockey's fee, basically. One thing also, go to, let me look, go to Golden Pal, workout time. And that's at the bottom of the line on the golf GP.
Where it says workouts, bullet to October 21.
But that little black dot thing, it was a bullet work. That means it was the fastest work that morning. And so when I see that, I'm looking at workout time, I want to see, if I see a bullet work, that means, and sometimes you'll see first of 87 horses that ran that morning. That was the quickest time. So a bullet work is, that's what you want to see sometimes.
Yeah.
And you'll see a bullet work sometimes, 2 works back, and then they work out once a week. They gallop every day, but they only work once a week at speed. And so they'll do half mile in 48, 5 furlongs in a minute, 3 and 36, that's what I always say. And then they'll walk the shed row for 2 days, usually after that workout. If they run, they usually are in the shed row for 3 days, just to say, after you run your marathon next week, you'll take 3 days off, right? Just walk the shed row.
I try to say a race is worth what,
At least 3 workouts.
3 working.
But so they, otherwise they gallop 2 miles every day just to be fitness. And then, but then say they do, say 3 and 36, and then the last work before the race, it may be just a maintenance work. They'll work, but they'll probably 4 and 49, say 4 and 50. Oh, that's a slow work. No, that was meant to be like that. We don't want to run them 4 and 47, 46 the week before the race, because then it's got to get up. So certain trainers do different things all the time, but that's how, when I see, oh, that was a quick work, that was a slow work last time. No, because it's probably designed to be that way, depending on the trainer.
They don't want to take too much energy out of them by working them too hard close to the race. So you might see their fastest work might be 2, even 3 weeks previously. And then they've got them racing fit, and then it's just, they just have to maintain that fitness.
One of the things that Steve and I've noticed that's so interesting, we've worked farm security for the graded stakes races.
Go ahead, where you get set to all day.
And when we're logging in, all
I know. Oh, I see you guys. I see you right.
clipboard.
I know.
But one of the things that's so interesting is, you know, the day of a race, a horse figures it out
Oh, yeah.
really quickly.
What he
He's
gets taken away,
running-
right?
He's running that day because he's not,
Different
he
route.
did get pulled out that morning, he's not getting fed, and they take out the water
Yeah.
bucket and they take out the feed,
Yeah,
and they know it. They
Yeah.
know it's racing.
yeah, no, these are, but when they're 3, 4 years old, they got the race face on. This is different today, we're not getting packed up and going to the
Really
toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting, yeah.
So what questions do you all have? Can you kind of see what I mean by all the information's in the same place? You've got a column that tells you where the horse finished. You've got a column that tells you the speed figures,
The name of the race.
type of race it was, whether it was stakes, allowance, yeah, the distance, the track.
There was a horse there, Pinot had it a few years ago. It ran in 2 6 furlong races, just 3/4 of a mile. But they were just, and there was stepping up to a mile on the 16th. I talked to the farm manager and he said, "Oh, back this horse, we've been waiting to get into this longer distance race." And all of a sudden you see, oh, 3/4, now it's stepping up, going another 2 furlongs in the race. Well, races, you go to the racing office and if a certain race gets full entry, they won't run that race. So you're betted your horse and all of a sudden they said, look, only 3 horses entered this race, we're not gonna, so all of a sudden you're pumped to go into this race and also the race doesn't go, so to speak. And so some year doesn't fill and they try, now I've got to work it for another week before I can enter it again, so to speak. But Clifford had always said this horse was trying to get into that longer race and it wasn't filling and all of a sudden it did. Well, it came out red all the way. It was good. When I saw that, I'll see that, oh, it's had 2 starts at 5 and 6 furlongs, now it's stepping up to a mile.
If you look at the
Distance, that's what
pedigree and you
they
see
think.
curling out of a
Pedigree.
medallion d'oro there.
And wanting to get that distance, it just hasn't. And they so-called give them a run, so to speak. You just want to get them into a race because you can train them so much until they do that race day experience.
Yeah.
Just put them into a race, just to get them going.
You all have, what to say when you are out at Keeneland. To make a wager, they need to know, I like to get people in the habit of saying Keeneland race 3, because there's other people there betting other tracks. So don't assume that they're not mind readers, your tellers are not mind readers. So, Keeneland race 3, they need to know how much money you want to spend, $2, what type of wager you want to make, say win, and you use the horse's post position number and not their name. So
Because it's
Keeneland
the money
race.
they put in first.
Keeneland-
$2, so
yeah.
they punch that first, they can't put the number in first, they have to put the dollar amount in.
Yeah.
And then the type of weight you win,
Yeah.
and then the number. Don't go up and say, oh, I'm just carried to $5 to, yeah, no. That'll hold up the line.
Yeah, and the machines are easy to use. I'm not a techie person, but that's part of our job. We teach people how to use the betting machines, and they're pretty easy.
I still like to go to the teller.
Yeah,
They haven't been, I want to use machines, I would never go to the teller.
yeah,
It's not like
I like the
interaction.
machine. I like to bet on my phone. Different types of weight. How are we doing on time?
We're good. We've got 2 more minutes.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about
Just real quick.
there's different types of wagers. There's some are riskier than others, but basically there are wagers that involve a single horse. There are wagers involving multiple horses finishing in different positions. So we call those exotic wagers. If exotics just means it's more than a single horse that you're betting on. So it's hard enough to get one horse correct. Getting 2 horses correct for the exacta wager, getting 3 horses correct for the trifecta, the superfecta, you got to get 4 horses right. So it gets harder, but we like the challenge, we like the challenge of it. There,
That's why I say my go-to bid, if you wanna do it, is the exact box, but always put 3 horses in that exact box. Because I need that insurance horse,
yeah,
and I want a horse that's probably,
tell what boxing is. It's a way to,
yeah,
boxing is a way to set up a multiple horse wager.
yeah, so I wanna bet 2, 3, and 4 in the exact box. 2, 3 comes in, 3, 2 comes in, 4, it doesn't matter what order they come in, as long as 2 of them to each person.
You're covering all your
So
combinations.
that's the box, so $3, the exact, straight exact is gonna cost you $2 for 2 horses. But it's gonna cost you $6 because.
You're making 6
there's
combinations.
6 different combinations, so,
Paying $1 for each.
and that's okay, I could always pick 2 horses, jack the boxes, but I never do because I wanna put that 3rd horse in because. I'm gonna
So
get
the
that,
third horse is $6.
yeah,
Yeah.
so $1
But on
the box.
2 out of those 3, you have to be first and second, so you've got an extra horse in there.
Yeah.
But as-
And if you like the brand, it's 50 to 1, put it in there, and if I'm second, you'll get paid, you gotta kick yourself if you say, oh, I do like that horse, but I can't spend an extra $2.
I know, that's happened to me a lot. I feel like I'm pretty good at picking horses because I like to try and get price horses. But I am a terrible bettor. I don't bet the horses I like properly in order, and I'm cheap. You hate to lose money. I agonize, should I spend $2 or $3? And other people, their base wager is $20. The across the board bet, you're actually putting a win, a place, and a show wager on a single horse. That's a popular bet. It's a minimum of $1.
At Keeneland, that's
At Keeneland, yeah.
$2. Keeneland,
Yeah.
there's a $1, but
The-
it shows up on the pricing as
Yeah.
a $2 bet, but you can actually
Yeah.
bet $1.
The pre-alts are based on a $2 wager. So
I don't know why, we don't touch it a lot.
Well, that's your, but anyways, it's fine to bet the minimum $1, just know that you're only gonna get half back of what it shows up on the board. So, does that make sense? Yeah.
So it's gonna be, if it's 3 to 1, that's
Yeah.
$2 to win, a 3 to 1, that's $6 plus your $2 back, so you'll get $8 back.
The
Always
biggest,
get your money back.
the biggest mistake I see people make is they wanna do the across the board bet. And they have in mind that they only wanna spend $10 on the entire race. And they go up and they say, I want $10 across the board. Well, that's a $30 bet.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware that you're funding 3 positions with that particular wager. So the best you could do in that is $3 across the board. That's 369. That would be a $9 wager.
Don't forget, if you ever do that, you can always cancel that bet. You get that ticket and say, because you make a mistake, the teller makes a mistake,
Yeah.
this is not what I want, they go back up there before the race is run and cancel that bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can cancel a wager at any time up until they're loading in the starting gate. And then you can't change the wager after.
always look at your ticket when you leave the teller, because
Yeah.
that we all make mistakes. And, okay, $2 across the board, $6 on the number 5, okay.
Yeah.
I did it one time where I bet a horse at Woodbine, and I did a $2 across the board, say, and the horse was scratched just before the race, so I went back to the teller and said, okay, I want the 4 horse instead. Well, she put a Keeneland number 4.
Oh,
I should have looked at the ticket, I didn't. But she should have realized, but just did Woodbine.
yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
It's
So
your
you need to look
responsibility as a
after
bettor.
that, always look at the ticket and make sure it's correct. If it's not, cancel it.
I just got a story.
Okay.
When I was there with some friends, this lady bet on every race and lost. She got to the last race, she says, I'm gonna win this one. So she goes, gets her tickets, comes back, sure enough, she says, I won. I said, how'd you do it? She says, I bet on every horse.
Yeah.
No, Julie's got the same story with Breeders' Cup there a number of years ago. She was losing all day. And there was Paraconte actually was 33-1. And that race you bet $28, I think, on that race. What she got six
There were
race.
14 horses in the race.
She bet everything. I'm gonna win this race, so she bet it all as well. But this race is so good. If the favorite came in, she would have won $4. But I took the long shot.
I thought I was
No, you had to win a race.
doing it, but the long shot won.
Yeah.
And so
Everything and hope the long shot comes in.
So there are different ways to set up these multiple horse wagers. Keelan has a 10-cent superfecta. That's a fun bet if you go there with 4 people, especially. Each person can choose a horse. As long as there's 6 horses running, they'll offer that wager. If it drops below 6, if only 5 horses are entered, they won't offer the wager. But all you need is one long shot to get in those top 4, and it can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I never played, Jill plays it a lot, and I know a lot of people work with the team and they always do a 10-cent super before.
Yeah.
It's a great activity, it's a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
Every now and then.
it said I'll go broke $2.40 at a time.
Yeah.
It is hard to win, but when the ones I have won, I've won a couple of $100 that for $2.40, and that paid for a lot of them. Now you can put 5 horses in that box, but
It's $12.
it's that many more combination, it bumps it up to $12 wager. We have done that a few times.
Let's get it's expensive for us.
Yeah, then it gets a little expensive. The wager I've come up most recently that I'm gonna play at Keeneland is I call it my trifecta formula. So I watch it, I don't even have to look at the stuff. I just look at the wagering and I see, as long as the favorites are, no shorter than really 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. And then there's enough horses in the race that there's some big double-digit horses in there, like 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 40 to 1. I'll set it up by putting the 2 favorites can come first or second, and either one can come first or second. And then I put some long shots in the 3rd position. And so that's, I see that little formula that I came up with. I see it hitting quite a bit in races that we watch.
First and second, and the 35 to 1 coming third.
Yeah,
But what do you say?
it's a straight trifecta. It's not a box because you're assigning certain horses in certain positions. So I would say the minimum for the trifecta is 50 cents at Keeneland. I would say 50-cent trifecta, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5 with 2-5 with 1, 7, 8, 9. And we'll put 4 long shots in the 3rd position.
Oh, okay.
And so,
But those 2 favorites have to win. And
First and
one
second.
or first and second, yeah, but they can come in any order. And then one of my long shots has to come.
And so a
Third.
bet like that would be how?
I try to keep it under
$4.
$9. It depends on how many,
And third choice.
yeah. And yeah, so I've won a few of those, and I find that as long as the long shot is 11 to 1 or more, I'll get paid $17 to $20 for my $8 or $9 that I've spent. And I hit one for 120 one day, where the favorites were more than 2 to 1.
I just did it on my, you did the 2 favorites to come first and second, and get 4 horses, it cost you $2.
Yeah.
That's a little weird. But those 2 horses have to come first and second.
First and second.
And
Yeah.
one of those long shots, and if I put,
You can put,
if I put 6 horses in the 3rd position, it's $4. So it's not, but you have to have first those 2 favorites first and second. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of people do all in the third position. If there's 8 horses in the race, let's do all, because the horse should be back.
Yeah.
Kick your butt.
It won't be as much, we're gonna try to
If you actually have a nice.
one or 8 to 1. You find that to get your money back, the third place horse has to be about 11 to 1.
Okay.
Okay.
That's your box, you said $2.
Oh my gosh, that cost the rounds of $2 per, wow.
And now that's the total cost. Minimum.